I'm a new consultant. I started at Queen Elizabeth Hospital in May and was inducted in June. So it's just been running for a few months now. I'm a rhinologist, so I'm spending my life up noses in I'm also a skull-based surgeon, so I deal with a little bit of the nerve and brain side of things as well. I find this morning just absolutely fascinating, and taking little bits away from everybody's talk. And I think that what's coming through is we're all talking about the same things, just taking a slightly different perspective on it. And Carl has been talking about diseases that occur inside the nose. This morning we had Simon who talked about kind of the nerve, the transmission. Tom's talk was just heartfelt, wasn't it? So touching. And Heather has given us a clue about how we can work on the nerves to increase our perception. So where does that take me? Well, I tend to be simple, try to divide things up into things that affect the nose, things that affect the nerves, and things that affect the brain. So we've already talked about the nose and a bit about the nerves. I'm going to talk more towards the brain side of things. What can go wrong? Well, when we think about the sense of smell, it actually starts really early in life. And being able to find individual smell molecules in fetal amniotic fluid, and baby can find milk at mother's breast at first feed. A newborn baby within a couple of months can differentiate the mother's smell from any other mother. And in our first few months and years of life, we explore our whole world through touch and taste and smell and feeling, plastering ourselves in porridge. By the time we go from childhood into our adult life, we're able to identify just hundreds of different smells to categorize them and identify them. How do we take that then from what we're exposed to how we remember it and how we recall it? I want you all just to play with me for a minute. Can you close your eyes and just think about one single smell, something that you either love, something that you hate, something that you wish you could smell. Just think about one single smell. Okay, you can open your eyes. Just a show of hands, how many people was that associated with an image or a picture or a situation? Or did you get just blank, just smell? Who saw a picture or an image? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about how we go from smell to memories. So when we smell something initially, it goes into sensory register. So our things we hear, things we see, things we touch goes into sensory register. And it stays there just for a few seconds. And unless we pay attention to it, then it just is lost. So if we pay attention to it, if we think it's important, it goes into our short-term memory and then into our long-term memory. And people have looked at long-term memory and they've put different names to it, but we can essentially put it into three categories. What we describe as episodic memory, so a snapshot. So if I said a rose, if you associate that word with the smell, with a picture of it, maybe with a situation in your life, that's a snapshot of that scent associated with all the other memory cues around it. If I say burning or smoke to you, that's probably slightly different because as well as that, you think of something burning, it's associated with semantic memory. So when I say burning, or smell burning, I immediately start looking around for a fire. I start listening to see if there's bells ringing somewhere. I start looking for the emergency exits. It's associated with a rule, a knowledge that actually, if I smell burning, it could be a danger to me, a safety issue. I need to think more than just about the smell. I need to think about my environment, about all, where that fire may be coming from, where I can go to safety, fight or flight. Then we've got procedural memory. So some things are associated with just a pattern of behaviour. So in the morning, you might get up, you might go downstairs, there's a coffee machine on, go up, get washed, get dressed, spray your favourite perfume or aftershave, go down, drink a coffee, eat breakfast and go to work. So the smell of coffee, the smell of your perfume, even the smell of your shampoos and conditioners and stuff, if you don't change them that often, if it's a regular pattern, is all part of that procedure. So we can access the smell memories through different parts of our long-term memory. Why is this important? Well, we've talked about how we can improve things inside the nose. We've talked about the memory training, how we can perhaps improve our perception of smells. But is there anything we can do to actually improve how our brain functions, how we think about smells, how we access them? And what I've asked my patients to do is to start a smell journal or a smell diary. And the idea is that by bringing those thoughts from long-term memory, from where they've been stored under layers and layers and layers of all the other things you've learned in your life from childhood, right way up to when you're an adult, if you can bring those closer to the surface, then they're easier to access. And if you get a faint whiff of something, or you see a picture of something, or you pass a rose in the garden, you might be able to access that smell memory. Not make a new memory, not find a new smell, but go back to your childhood and actually find where you've stored that smell and access that. And actually, I was talking to somebody over lunchtime, I'm not embarrassed by calling you out, but she has memories from childhood, and on occasion she just gets that recollection of what something smells like. So, what do we want to do? Well, I would start with something that has really strong emotional ties. So, things that you can remember clearly and vividly smelling in your life. Because you want these ones to be, the ones you're starting with, to be the ones that are easiest to access, the easiest for you to remember. If you have pictures of, if you remember it being at a party and you have pictures of those at the party, put the picture into your journal, or get a picture of whatever it is you're thinking of, if it's a rose or a gin and tonic that you remember sharing with me. It's, whatever it is, you want a visual clue, and you want to try and get other clues. So, is it something you can taste? So, is it a bar of chocolate? Have the bar of chocolate there. Rustle the package. Taste the chocolate. If it's something you can touch, so again, flower petals, that kind of thing. So we want to include as much information as we can. So this is what I would do. I'm a bit of a chocoholic, a sweet tooth. So for me, I have almost daily recollections of eating chocolate, but I have some particularly vivid ones. When I was 8, I got 14 Easter eggs for Easter, and I ate them all in one day and was so sick. I can access that memory. I know it's there. I can think about the Easter egg and, mini eggs, packet of mini eggs. I can put one in my mouth. I can crunch through that shell. I can feel the chocolate melting. I can access those memories and try and with that, not creating new memories, but link it to my past memories, to what I remember, to try and bring those up from the deep to close to the surface. Other ones, my grandma just grew loads of roses, big blousy flowers, and they were just the most gorgeous smells. I can remember going down at summers spent deadheading roses, taking the petals, crunching them up in water, and making rose water, and just that smell is still there in my memory. Mulled wine at Christmas time. Cinnamon, great. And particularly if you've got shared experiences, with your family, with your friends, at Christmas time, get the mulled wine out again and say, do you remember when we did this and we all sat around the fire and we drank mulled wine? It shouldn't be an isolating experience. It should be something that's pleasurable and fun to discuss your old memories, to crank them out again, to re-examine them in a new light, to think more from the smell point of view than maybe from the conversation of what Auntie did with her glasses or Granny soda bread. Well, Granny's just the most amazing baker. She, in her little tiny kitchen with her penny on, getting ceramic bowl out, putting flour in, baking soda, buttermilk, adding the buttermilk back, really kind of sour, yeasty smell to it. Putting it in the pan, letting it crisp up in the bottom, turning it over, crisp up on the top, and wrapping it up in a towel, and the smells of it as it came out. And you're accessing the emotion, the feeling, and the memories to bring back the smell. Fish may seem like an odd one, but I can't stand fish. Hate it. The odour is just repulsive. So for me, fish has a really strong emotion, but it's not a positive one, because I hate it. So it doesn't all have to be, pleasurable things that you did in your life. It can be things that just, have a really strong emotion. So my mum made me tuna fish casserole just about once a week the entire time I was a child. And I cannot stand tuna fish. So bring back those memories. Remember the situations. The top tips. Pay attention. it may sound flippant or facetious, but I'm not trying to be. What I'm saying is you've got lots of smells in your everyday life that will be associated with emotions, with past memories, with feelings, and try and, rather than just rushing through breakfast, getting to work, rushing through your day, try and pay attention to what's happening on a day-to-day basis, because they're the smells that are going to be closest to the surface. They're going to be the things that you've been experiencing throughout your life that you can access more easily. Involve all your senses, not just smell. We talked about the cues from touch, from taste, from the sound of bristling packages. Involve all your senses and relate it to your memories, relate it to your experience. And we know from people who've lost a memory, or who've had memory trouble, or who've had injuries to their brain, that if you just do things now and again, it doesn't become easier. You have to repeat and repeat and repeat. You have to review it. You have to keep it as an active process for it to make sense. But most of all, it should be fun. It shouldn't be a burden. It should be something you enjoy doing. It should be, if you can make it a sociable thing, include your family, include your friends, get them all involved, and make it something that you want to do, and that way you will do it. That's all I wanted to say.